Every single day, you go in the battlefield without any weapon or any armor. And you wonder why you come back battered and bruised and bleeding. And this is exactly what it feels like when we keep on saying things like, I'm inconsistent, I always fall off, I'm lazy, I'll start next Monday. We walk into these difficult seasons with absolutely no spiritual foundation that would hold us together. And then we wonder why discipline feels impossible. And here's what I've realized. Consistency is not just physical. It's not just having these routines or being so highly motivated. Consistency is actually spiritual too. Because life will test you. Your emotions will test you. Your flesh will definitely test you. And your environment, honey, that will test you too. And so if you don't have truth rooted deeply inside of you, your feelings are always going to win. So today, I want to share with you 3 Bible verses that genuinely keep me grounded, disciplined, and consistent. And this is not because I'm perfect or because I've found the perfect way or nothing. God's way is the perfect way, but this is not because I'm perfect, not because I'm always motivated, but because these verses remind me of who I need to be when life gets this difficult. And maybe today, one of these verses will become your anchor as well. Welcome back to Healthy Hypocrites. This is the podcast where we talk about the messy intersection between faith, science, and health, but also where we get vulnerable. And I'm your host, Tumi, a follower of Christ, but also a registered dietitian and a lactation consultant. And I believe that wellness is not about perfection, but rather it's about intention, honesty, and grace. This podcast is for people who love God, but find themselves still struggling. The people who are trying to build discipline, trying to heal, become healthier, and stay consistent, but also have to navigate real life emotions, disappointments, exhaustion. And today's conversation is especially personal to me because these are scriptures I return to often. These are things I say to myself over and over again when things get crazy, when I feel lazy, discouraged, when I feel as though I want to quit and I want to stop, and when I feel behind. But every time I recite any one of these verses, they pull me right back into alignment. So grab your tea, your coffee, your journal, whatever it is, and let's get into it. So today, again, we've got just one question in our confession jar. Now, the confession jar, for those who don't know, this is a jar that has questions that force us to be vulnerable. So as I'm about to ask this question, I'm going to answer it myself, but I want you to be vulnerable too. Answer the confession jar question. You can answer it in the comment section. You can say it out loud to yourself. You can say it in your head, but don't leave me hanging and don't leave the confession jar hanging too, please. So the question is, what is the biggest thing currently stealing your consistency? So this could be different for everybody. It could be procrastination, fear of failure, comparison, perfectionism, lack of discipline, self-doubt, emotional eating. What is it? What is your answer? And I'm going to honestly answer this question too for you guys. So for me, one thing that often steals my consistency is a little bit of overthinking. So I've gotten much better at this over time. But what happens is that sometimes I spend so much time trying to do things the perfect way, trying to release the perfect ebook, trying to post the perfect podcast episode, and I end up delaying the start or delaying that particular thing, or I become so focused on doing things well that I just emotionally deplete and exhaust myself. And I've realized something very powerful, in fact. The enemy doesn't always need to destroy you in a big way. Sometimes he has to do just enough to distract you long enough from your goals, distract you from your purpose, distract you from paying attention to your health, or distract you from doing the routines that actually keep you in a good standing with yourself. And just before you know it, it's been weeks, months, and all of a sudden you feel so disconnected from this person you were trying to become. So as you listen today, I want you to reflect in a very honest way. What is it for you guys that keeps you away from consistency. Because in order for us to change, we first need to be aware of what this thing is. So I'm going to share with you the very first Bible verse that grounds me so deeply, from Ecclesiastes 9 verse 10, that says, in the New King James Version. So all of my Bible verses are New King James Version. And it says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. For there is no work or device or knowledge or wisdom in the grave where you are going. I find that the last part is so important because we forget that we're mortal. We're not immortal. We're all gonna die. And so we need to make the most out of this life. We need to work on the things that we do with our greatest capability, with our greatest ability, with the greatest intention. And so this verse reminds me to not take anything for granted, because we do that sometimes. It convicts me so deeply because, I find that sometimes we pray to get more opportunities or bigger platforms or better bodies or more money, success, but we're actually neglecting what we already have, but we're still wishing for more. And we find ourselves inconsistent with our current assignment. And this verse reminds me that to be excellent is not something that's reserved for big moments. It's something that you're able to achieve in your daily life. It's something that you should achieve and strive for in your daily life. And so if you want to think about how you could apply this verse to keep you consistent, it's the work that nobody sees, essentially. So it's working out that nobody sees. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Work out, give it your all. Even if you're working out for 10 minutes, give it your all. You're not going to be able to work out after you're dead. That's gone. Meal prep. You won't be able to eat after you're dead. Eat all of the beautiful fruits and vegetables and all of the protein sources that God has provided for us. Study. There is no knowledge beyond the grave. None of that. Learn. Do the most. Really take advantage of all of this abundance that we have. Show up. The consistency and the obedience is something that we learn through doing things with all of our might. And I think something we're very mistaken is we think that discipline has to feel very exciting, but mostly discipline is just repetition. It's quiet, it's ordinary, and I think that's why most people struggle, because we're used to stimulation, constant stimulation. And from what I've seen, people only want to work hard when they're feeling very inspired. So when the motivation is high. But this verse doesn't say do it when you feel motivated. It says do it with all your might. So that means putting in the effort, the intention, the commitment, no matter how you feel, whether you're tired, whether some people can see, whether they can't see, whether the results are slow or fast. And this applies to your health too, because sometimes consistency looks very unglamorous. It can be very boring. If you're consistently trying to drink water, it means you might have to turn down your sugary drinks. If you're consistently trying to stay active, it means you're going to have to walk even when you don't feel like it. If you're consistently trying to improve your brain health, it means you're going to have to sleep earlier, even on the nights where the series ends on a cliffhanger and you want to see what happens on the next episode. It means meal prepping, even when you can smell somebody's braai from your window. It's saying no to what is convenient. No, not because it's exciting. It's doing things that are not necessarily exciting, but you're doing these things because you're stewarding your body well. And something else this verse really taught me is not to wait for the perfect conditions, because perfection will always delay your progress. If, somebody said, I don't know who said this, it's something in business though. If you wait until you are ready, then you waited too long. And this is because perfection delays progress. Many people are sitting on potential because they're waiting for this motivation or confidence or the perfect timing. Meanwhile, people who are disciplined, they just keep going, not perfectly or consistently or anything. They just focus on the going. So the biggest question to ask yourself, and I want to pose this question to you, is, are you giving your current season your best effort? And I want you to really think about it. If you're longing for another job, are you doing your most at your current job? Are you actually giving it your all? Are you actually putting in 100% effort? Because God has put you in that particular job, in that particular position at this point in time, because he is trying to teach you something or equip you with a certain skill or knowledge that is going to help you in your next chapter. So if you are avoiding the current, then you're not really surrendering 100% to God's plan. So ask yourself, are you mentally absent from your own life? Then the second Bible verse that really helps me stay consistent, it says, it's from James 2 verse 17 that says, thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. How many times have you caught yourself or even seen other people hope and hope and hope and pray and pray and pray for a certain outcome or something to happen, but you can see by their actions or by your actions that you're not really anticipating the thing that you're praying for? It's almost like you're praying and it's just a hope and a far, far away dream and not actually something that you see that is going to happen. Because if you really saw that it was going to happen, you were going to act in such a way that puts you in a position where you can catch the blessing right when it happens. This one is so powerful to me. Thus faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. It's so powerful to me because so many people say that they believe God to change their life. And just like what I said, their actions just never align with what they want. And this is something that applies to everything in life. I mean, just think about it. If you say that you want to be healthier and you don't exercise, or you don't prepare, or you don't take any action that helps you become healthier, then how is God going to make you healthier? Or by the time God puts you in a position where he's able to boost your health, because you haven't done any work, you're unable to really receive that blessing to its full capacity. You might say, I want financial freedom, and I catch myself in this one. But then there's no budgeting, no discipline, no intention when it comes to the way that you manage your finances. You might say something like, I want peace. But then you continue consuming things that destroy your mental health, whatever that might be, doom scrolling, porn, things that really damage your peace. And this verse reminds me that faith is such an active thing. We are taught so much to see it as a passive thing that you do, like a faraway wish. But faith in real life is action, it's preparation, it's responding. And if you truly believe that change is possible for you in your life, your actions should be a reflection of that very same belief. And I think that sometimes we may misunderstand faith, because it's not a passive wishing. Faith is saying, I trust God enough to move in this direction because I know once I get to the destination, God would have already set it up for me. Noah built the ark before the rain even came. Can you imagine how crazy everybody looked at this guy and they were like, this dude is just, what is he doing? Like, he's building this ark. He's saying it's going to rain. Like, it hasn't rained in how many years? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you actually talking about, Noah? This dude is crazy. And that's faith. Everybody will look at you and think that you're crazy for having that faith. Everybody looked at him and thought that he was psycho, but he just kept on building. And consistency looks like you're a fool. It makes you look like you're a fool before it looks like you're successful. And honestly, and when you're successful, that's when people start to say, yeah, no, because she did this. But anyway, that's besides the point. And honestly speaking, This is something that people need to hear, because social media has convinced us so much that results and transformations just happen like that, boom, overnight. But the truth of the matter is that most real growth is slow. Very, very slow. You repeat small actions every single day, over and over and over, and they become a lifestyle. And this is where most people quit. This is where I've also caught myself quitting in the past, because we expect immediate results. But when the results are delayed, it doesn't necessarily mean that we fail. It just means that the process is still doing the work. I've been consuming so much content when it comes to this, because I find myself consistently applying efforts and sometimes getting discouraged that things don't work. And some messages that I've received is nothing happens for a while and then everything happens at once. It's almost like a plant, a seed being planted. It's like in the soil, and then it makes its roots, and then it starts growing up, and then it's like a little tree, and then bam, all of a sudden it's a big tree. It's got plants, it's got fruits, it's got everything. So if you don't see anything, it means it's still doing the work. And as a dietitian, this is something I always see. People want to overnight just transform, but sustainable health is built through repeated ordinary choices. Consistency is not built in one day. It doesn't happen overnight. And so if you really want change, you need to ask yourself, do your actions align with things that you're praying for? Because faith without works is dead. And the very third verse that keeps me going is from Galatians 6 verse 9 that says, "And let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap harvest." Oh, sorry, I'm referencing another one. It just says in New King James Version, "For in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart." This verse has carried me through so many difficult seasons, because sometimes the hardest part of consistency is continuing even though you don't see anything happening, nothing. But the consistency is literally your videos getting, not that this is insignificant, but let's just say your videos or your podcast or whatever, getting 30 views consistently for a year, and somehow you don't stop. You just pull this strength and energy from God, and you just keep going. And all of a sudden you go, shoops, followers and subscribers start coming. And before you know it, you're growing faster than you can even imagine that you ever thought would happen, because it is such a compounding effect. And initially it's just so discouraging. And I find myself being so tempted to stop, to not release the podcast episodes. And I think that's part of the reason why I've been so inconsistent these past few weeks. And I really sincerely apologize to you guys as my audience. I am going to correct it in the next few weeks so that I continue uploading at 6 o'clock now, and not these random times like 9 and 10 where everybody's now asleep and nobody can watch the episode. But it's the hardest part. It's the hardest part to go through, the part where you don't see anything, because it's so discouraging. And the thing that we're not told is this discouragement that we feel when we're being consistent is so dangerous. Because once you become emotionally tired, everything starts to feel so much heavier and harder. Gym gets harder, meal prep gets harder, waking up feels harder, showing up, it just gets harder. And sometimes you ask yourself, what's the point? Is this even working? And then I have to remind myself, and I want you to remind yourself too, there is always harvest attached to consistency. It is always there. It is guaranteed, because God cannot lie. So there will always be harvest. You will always be successful if you're consistent. There's no exception. So if you're consistent though, if you're not perfect, but if you're consistent. And the difficult part about a harvest is that it takes time. You don't plant a seed today and then all of a sudden tomorrow you start harvesting. No. Not like that. Growth needs us to be patient. And We live in a generation where we struggle so much with delayed gratification. We want immediate outcomes, healing, success. We want the weight loss to happen right now. But some things can only happen slowly. And those are the most worthwhile things: the character, the discipline, the emotional maturity, the trust, consistency. Those are the things that are built over time. And sometimes the reason God has not removed the process is because the process is the thing that is turning you into the person you need to be. I know that there are people who are listening right now who are tired of starting over, tired of struggling, of failing, and just tired of trying. But I want to encourage you today. Don't be weary in doing good. Your effort is 100% not wasted, because every single healthy choice matters, no matter how big or small you think it is. Every disciplined decision matters. Every prayer, every small action of obedience matters. And even if nobody sees it, because eventually consistency compounds. And one day you're going to look back and realize that these little small things that you did that you thought were insignificant in the moment changed your life. So as you leave this podcast episode today, I want you to reflect on this particular question. Which verse do I need most in this season right now? Do you need discipline to work wholeheartedly? Do you need faith to actually move? Or do you need endurance to keep going? Because consistency is not just about having these routines. It's about who you are. It is about your faith, your mindset, your stewardship, and your perseverance. And when you build consistency spiritually first, it becomes so much easier to sustain it physically. Because we do things from the inside out, not from the outside in. You've been listening to Healthy Hypocrites, where we get real about wellness and grace. And I'm Tumi, and until next time, remember, you do not need to be perfect to be at peace. You just need to be present and intentional. And I will see you next week at 6 for real, 6 o'clock, guys, I promise. Bye.